But that's a hard decision. Was there any hesitation?
No, it was a conviction. It was a strong
Yeah.
conviction that
Okay.
this was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think today there are so many amazing resources. Just do a Google search, about narcissistic parents, right?
Cheryl, we use ChatGPT now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
AI.
chat. AI might be a narcissist. I don't know. They could be. So
I'll ask it later and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Break That Cycle, where we help you turn obstacles into opportunities. Today's episode, we're talking about narcissism and identifying narcissism and dealing with narcissism, which is a huge topic right now. And I'm happy to be joined here by Cheryl Hickman, who is the founder and CEO of Hope for Her. Cheryl, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you,
Glad
Bill.
to have
Thanks
you here.
for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I definitely wanted to invite you for this episode because I know you have a lot of experience and knowledge on this topic specifically. If you can just quickly share what your upbringing was and tell me what normal life was for you when you were younger.
Sure. So a lot of folks don't even understand, especially women, that their childhood was not necessarily normal, that it was skewed somehow. I didn't know that my childhood was any different than anybody else's.
Sure.
And so I grew up in an environment where, as the youngest of three, I was more of an appendage to my mom.
Okay.
My mom was a narcissist. Didn't know anything about that as a small child or
Right.
even growing up, really till I became an adult.
Sure.
Many of the women that we see at Hope for Her, we've had these conversations about behaviors and dynamics, and then we start talking about their childhood, and all of a sudden you start seeing patterns, and I can identify with that, and then you kind of go, oh, I understand what that feels like to not have your own identity.
Yeah.
And your identity is to make the other person's life work.
Yeah.
And so as a small child, you don't understand that. You just know that to survive, that person needs to be happy.
Yeah.
Because if that person's not happy, your life isn't good at all.
Yeah.
Your life can be a very unsafe place.
Yeah. And I like how you bring up the idea of what you thought was a normal life when you were a child. And I have this conversation with a lot of people, and obviously centered because we're both of our jobs are centered around domestic violence and
Yes.
helping the victims of domestic violence. And this conversation I have a million times a day, and someone will ask me, well, how can someone do that to another person? And it's like, it may not be with malice intent. It may just be what they know. And yes, it's normal for you, for the household you grew up in, because what do you have to compare it to?
Right.
You only had one family,
Right.
and you only had one upbringing.
Right.
So we don't have anything to compare it to. And when we have instances where, have narcissistic people in your family, you don't know any different. And so, yes, everything is normal until it isn't normal.
Right.
So you didn't see any of those signs at that age. But now knowing what that looks like, do you remember how far back you can go where you can pick some of those things up that you remember? Because this started in your family.
Right. This was our family dynamic, right? And I was the youngest of three. And so my brother and sister are older than me. And so I was kind of the one that was always there at the house. And so my parents were both all alcoholics. And so that's part of the dynamic. And so if there was alcohol and drinking going on, then I became the caretaker. Even as young as I can remember,
Wow.
making sure that my mom was safe, making sure my mom got to bed, making sure that everything was turned off in the house, that everybody was safe.
How old?
I could say as early as 5, I can remember playing that role with my mom.
Couldn't even pick out my clothes at 5.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But see, I think giving in this environment, it gives children, not gives, but children have to learn to be very responsible and responsible caretakers. And so being the executive director of Hope for Her, it's like God took the challenges in my life as a little person and those personality traits that were developed in me to care for the lost, to help those who are vulnerable. And he transformed those, or he's used those to allow me to do ministry to help people in need, allowing me to get the healing I needed, right, from my own family dynamic,
right,
and then help other women recognize it and get the healing they need. So I don't see it was, a lot of times you look back on your childhood and go, wow, that was really awful. That really sucked, right?
Yeah.
Very painful, very toxic, right? But I think I've come to a point in my life that I understand now that God uses all things and there are no mistakes. And if I would not have had the challenges growing up in the family I did, I wouldn't be able to do my job now.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have a heart that was broken for those who are lost.
Absolutely.
For women who are being abused, for women who are who don't have a sense of their own self anymore, right? Because it's been stolen from them.
Yeah.
And so when people come to Hope for Her, and I know we're going to talk about this later,
sure,
but one of the things we always ask is, what do you want to do? And that's such a foreign question for so many women. They're just trying to get through the day and care for their kids and find a place to live. And, you know, and sometimes they're with a person that's harmful or toxic to them and would never ask them what they wanted. Yeah. And so it's a pause and they kind of go,
what?
Well, nobody's ever asked me. Right.
Wow.
And then you start developing, hey, well, I really like this.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. I want to do this. And that's when that sense of self starts coming in.
Oh, man. And isn't that fun to watch?
Life change.
It is. It's
amazing.
It's like watching a rose bloom. I mean, it's just
Absolutely.
one of the most beautiful things when somebody can actually start to think for themselves without being told what to think.
Yes.
Like you almost just see doors open up in their eyes. And
right.
It's just, it's beautiful.
Right.
I love it.
I had a moment one time with one of our ladies that we were picking out some food.
Yeah.
And I asked her to choose what kind of macaroni and cheese she wanted. And she's like, no, you choose for me.
Oh.
I'm not going to choose for you.
Yeah.
You tell me what you like.
Yeah.
And she's like, really? Yeah.
Oh.
You tell me, do you like this or this? And that was the starting point to the choice.
Yeah.
To finding that sense of self.
Oh, that's great.
It is cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
You actually see that develop in a person. And you know, I don't think God made a bunch of clones. Yeah. Right?
Nope.
He made us uniquely individual to serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And helping find that purpose is what I want to help other women do.
And you are. And we are going to get into Hope for Her.
We will. I jumped ahead.
You're fine. So, but what I'd like to, for some of our viewers and listeners to understand is, you know, and like I said at the beginning, turning obstacles into opportunities.
Yes.
And you went through a lot of obstacles, not knowing that they were obstacles at that time. And so you're not alone, right? There's other people out there that are going through that same journey. They're following the same script that you had and also have no idea that they're going through that. So I want to go back to, cause your bouts with narcissism started as a child.
Yeah.
What types of things can you recognize now? Because again, at the time, everything was normal. That's just the way families are. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's nobody there to tell you any different. But with the knowledge that you have now, knowing what narcissism is, knowing what control looks like, knowing what that domestic abuse looks like, which, contrary to popular belief, is not just between a man and a woman, or a man and a man, a woman and a woman.
Yeah.
It also comes from your parents, and it comes from siblings that will try to control you for their own gain or their own benefit or whatever pleases them. So if you can talk about what you know now of your childhood that you would like to tell 5-year-old Cheryl, hey, this is not normal.
Right. So I always thought my dad was very mean, right?
Aren't we all?
High control. High control, no
Yeah.
room to move. And my dad passed away 12, 13 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt sorry for my mom. But that's the victim mentality. She wanted me to feel sorry for him, for her, that my dad was so mean and so difficult, and she's the victim. He was the persecutor, she's the victim, and I was the one who saved the situation, right? I made it better. I was the rescuer, right? And so when my dad died, I thought, yay, my mom's going to finally be happy, right? My dad, as he was dying, tells me, please take care of your mom. And I took it very seriously, right? So, I asked her to come down and stay with me, and my mom started acting odd, started doing some really crazy things.
Like right away?
Like right away.
Wow. Okay.
Right away. And when I confronted her on some of those things, she turned on me.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I was the one that was mentally ill. I was the one that was crazy. And she said that she no longer wanted me in her life because I was just a terrible person.
Wow.
And so that happened kind of right after my dad died.
Yeah.
And she didn't speak to me for 2 years.
Wow.
And in that time, I realized that what my dad's role was is he was kind of heavy-handed, but he held my mom in check.
Yeah.
He didn't play the narcissistic game. So her behavior played out on us kids, specifically me as the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And when he died, because he was the one that was keeping things controlled
Together,
in our family, making our family work,
Sure.
she was out of control.
Wow.
And she went through a series of multiple people living in her house and just lots of crazy behaviors, out of control, a lot of drinking, a lot of just crazy stuff. And then she would bring me back into her life for a period of time. But when I would confront her, because at this time I'm in a better place in my life, emotionally much healthier. I had really good boundaries, which I highly recommend if you think you have a narcissistic parent, is boundaries are your friend. And you really, really need to understand that. You and I have talked about that, how important that is.
Yes.
You're not being mean. You're caring for yourself.
Correct.
And so every time I would put boundaries on the behavior, the calling me drunk and all that kind of stuff when she was late at night and I wouldn't answer the phone or I would, put boundaries on the situation, she would cut me out of her life again.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until a few months before she passed away that we were able to reconcile a relationship.
Yeah.
And get to a good place.
Did you ever get an apology?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
At the very end, yeah. Yeah, literally the week she was dying.
What type of emotion are you dealing with as your mom's telling you that? Because for so many years, things could have been so much better. And now at the end here, now we're saying this. Like, what do you do? How do you process, or have you?
I think I had got to a place of peace and loving my mom where she was at.
Okay.
Without an expectation.
Sure.
And that's the thing as us kids, we want our parents to be proud of us. We want our parents to love us. We want our parents to be a part of our life. And when you don't have that growing up, right? If you don't ever get that, then you personally have to address that and how you come to terms with it.
Yeah.
And because of my faith, I had got to a place of peace. And I believed, and I still do, that my relationship that I've always wanted with my mom would be in eternity on the other side of this earth, right?
Yeah.
That it wasn't going to be here because we're both broken. And so to have that moment at the end of her life was very special.
Yeah.
And I was good with it. I was happy for it, good with it.
Yeah.
But I didn't need it. Right?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. It was, you were already at peace with yourself and the decisions that you made. And like you said, setting boundaries, which we'll get to. And yeah, no, I can totally understand that.
I could love her without condition.
Yeah.
And even though I couldn't get that love back, I had the ability to love her without condition.
Sure. That's beautiful. I'm glad you got that. You had that moment.
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable.
It's kind of, it's obviously her passing is not great. but you almost kind of got a nice ending to the story here.
I believe that, Bill, very much.
Yeah.
I believe it was a really good ending to our earthly story.
Yeah.
And I still know that in eternity, we'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll be good.
You got it all out in the air now.
That's right. Because we're going to be in right relationship with each other.
Wow.
Right?
Oh, that's great.
When we're out of kind of the limits of this world and the brokenness and the sin and all that.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to touch on you're crazy. You have problems, because that's a mechanism that narcissists will use to gaslight, and to make you feel a certain way to stay under their thumb.
Yep.
What types of things would your mom say to you? And after your dad passed, how old were you when your dad passed?
Early 40s.
Okay. So you've already established and you actually went through another trial of narcissism, which we'll get to in a second. And were you able to at that time identify what she was trying to do as far as keep the control?
I had moved far enough in my healing, but I still wanted her approval. So every time I was cut out of her life, it was really hurtful.
Yeah.
And then I had to deal with the kind of the shame and the rejection from my brother and sister also.
That was going to be my next question. Yes.
Yeah. And that was difficult. So I just had to make some tough choices during those seasons to not be engaged with my family.
Right.
For my own well-being.
And that happens a lot. So when you have one person telling you you're crazy, no. But if you got 3 people telling you you're the problem, then you start that self-doubt.
Right.
So brother and sister didn't grow up and see or have to take care of mom and dad when they were going through their troubles.
Right.
And you've lived it. And now you're still dealing with it. Did they ever at any point acknowledge that what you were saying or what you believed was accurate?
No.
Still?
No. I would say even still no. Now,
wow.
They don't want to talk about these kind of things.
Okay.
And so we've all had very different paths because I kind of left that realm of our family and went out on my own and to do my own thing and took my own path. I'm more willing to have conversations. Right.
Yeah.
About what happened in our life. And they're at different places in their life. And
it could be a multitude of anything or a combination of a lot of things, not just denial, but it could be maybe they don't want to tap into that because they don't want to think about her passing again. And, maybe they don't want to travel down that road. So
loss.
Understandable.
Yes.
The $1 million question though, and this is for anyone out there who is going through these issues, may have siblings like you had, and they have their thoughts that you're doing it wrong, you're in the wrong, you are the crazy one, it's not her. Are you better off for what you did, setting up those boundaries and separating yourself from that situation?
Yes, all day long. Yeah. Yes.
And I think more people need to hear that.
Yes.
Because, there is this, and I don't want to, I think stigma is probably the wrong word, but family. You are supposed to love your family unconditionally.
Yep.
I don't buy into that. And I've taught my daughter that as well. And I told her, I said, if I'm a complete jerk to you, cut me out. Because I don't deserve to be in your life.
Right.
But for a lot, and in my family as well, family came first. Family was number one.
Right.
I've learned that my family consists of people that love me and that are in my circle.
Right.
It does not include everyone that I share blood with, unfortunately.
That's true.
And that does hurt. But there's hurt on both sides. I get that. But what I want people to understand is that you can get past that and you don't have to feel like a jerk doing it. Because if you're taking care of yourself, those who love you should support you no matter what.
Right.
one day, one of these clips is going to go viral. And I hope it's this one because more people need to hear that. You're not betraying your family by setting boundaries for yourself. And it's something that it goes unnoticed way too often.
Right. Because you feel guilt and you feel shame.
Yeah.
And you feel a sense of rejection. Because I think inside everybody wants to feel loved. Yeah. Right? We all do.
Yeah.
Right? And I think God made us that way, right? That he loves us beyond condition, right? I think so many women get in situations with relationships now because they're seeking love.
Yeah.
They might have walked out or been raised in an environment with their families where love was used as a manipulation tool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And it was very one directional.
Yep.
I think in our family, that's where it was. It was all how my mom defined what was going on, right? Yeah. I think deeper than that, too, is the need to be heard, have an opinion, be recognized, feel like you matter.
Yes.
Many of the ladies we see at Hope for Her don't feel like they matter.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
It is.
Yeah.
But that comes from being raised in certain family dynamics that, your existence was for someone else's well-being, right?
Yes.
And so as an adult, we can say, that's not okay.
Yeah.
I want to be loved for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I want to be able to love in a safe way.
Yep.
Right? We all want that.
Yep.
And I think that being in a narcissistic home is stolen from, that love aspect is stolen from people.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not even really a factor at that point.
No.
It's again,
manipulation.
It's about the control.
Control.
Yeah.
Right? And narcissists leave such a path of destruction. Right? And there's so much research right now that's out there about specifically women raised by narcissistic moms and the damage it does to us as we see ourselves and then our children.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, your mom is your beacon.
Right.
Right? And
your primary role model.
Yeah, if you can't get approval from the person most important to you in your life, then what are your worth, your self-worth just tanks.
Right. Even up until the year before my mom died, she was telling me that I was a failure, right? Her plan for me is that I was supposed to go to law school, right?
Her plan.
Yeah. And so twice I actually applied for law school.
Yeah.
And then my ministry path went in a different direction. And here I am 20-something years into Hope for Her. I feel like we're super successful,
absolutely.
right? Absolutely. And for her to not acknowledge that and to tell me that I threw my life away.
Oh, man.
Right? I wasted my life is what she felt. And that, she did not feel that I was a success.
Yeah.
And then we go to the week that she's dying and she's laying in the bed and she tells me that she's sorry and that she is proud of me at the very, very end.
Yeah.
Right? That's hard.
Wow.
But, like we said, it's good. But I had to come to a place to love her without condition.
Yeah.
And then having her say that at the very end to be able to accept that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge both ways, right?
Yeah, it is. But I see so many women that just, that their parents didn't believe in them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Didn't believe that they had worth or value, right?
Oh, it's sad. It's very sad. And that's why I want to do stuff like this. I want to be able to talk about these topics so that we can hopefully help someone from avoiding years and years of despair.
Right.
Okay. So childhood, controlling environment, and then into your middle ages and dad passes away. But you had went from, and probably not knowing it at first, but you went from one narcissistic household to another one.
Right.
And this was your first husband?
Yep.
First love?
First husband.
First husband, not first
husband.
love.
First husband.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. My son's dad. And, but it's a not knowing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's normal.
Yeah. And I didn't know.
It's all you know.
And so again, my world was to make him happy.
Yeah.
And when he wasn't happy, I was a failure.
Oh man.
That's
history repeats itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And so having a super challenged marriage and where it got unsafe for me to stay. And then stepping away from that with my sons and starting over. And that's actually what led me to Tampa.
Yeah.
Was the start over place. And I think it happens a lot. And
oh, God, yeah.
Because women get connected to men that are all about themselves, and I'm not man bashing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it has to do with women not valuing themselves, not understanding that they matter, and basically being a victim and getting connected to folks that are predators.
Yeah.
And when that happens, that it only gets worse. It's really great at first because a narcissist normally makes you feel like $1 million when you're in their presence.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because they're pouring all their love and attention right into you.
Yep.
Right? But it's all about them, and it's creating a bond back to them. So then you become an appendage to them. And that's where the domestic violence comes in.
The puppet strings.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And we see it all the time.
Absolutely. It's crafty.
Mm-hmm.
I would be willing to bet, though, those who are really good at it have been controlled at some point in their life. And so they know what it looks like. They watch dad or they watch mom get over on the spouse and are able to do these types of things.
Right.
How long were you with your first husband before you finally saw this and said, I got to get out of here? Or was it that near life threatening occurrence that...
No, it started very soon after we were married.
Oh, wow.
And being raised in the family that I was.
But did you notice that at the time, though?
No, I just thought our marriage was really rough.
Okay.
It was really challenging, and I was having to work really, really hard to make things work.
Right.
And my parents had told me that divorce is not an option. You stay, good, bad, or otherwise. Your divorce is not an option. Period. Even to the extent where one night I was trying to leave, he chased me out of the house. I had the babies in the car, and he smashed in my windshield of my car, put his fist through my windshield 3 times, and drove to my mom's and dad's house. And they were like, "No, he's the sweetest guy in the world. You must have misunderstood what was going on."
Yeah.
Right? And they just would never acknowledge what was going on in the dynamic.
Jeez.
And so when I finally left, that's why I moved away.
Yeah.
Because I not only moved away from the kid's dad, but I moved away from our family dynamic.
Right.
Because
no support.
It was super unhealthy.
Yeah.
Because they would have rathered me stay in a very unsafe situation than getting divorced.
Wow.
And that I brought shame on the family because I got divorced.
Yes. You were the only one who brought shame to the family.
Yes.
Yeah. That's wow.
Right. And so there's, again, great research with internal family systems, right, that talk about this, and having folks understand their role in the family and what your role looks like, and knowing you don't have to stay in your role, right? Because your role is a kind of a piece of you. And then if you can start developing your other parts and become a whole person, then as women, then we're attracted to men that are whole. And then there's 2 whole people in the relationship, both getting our needs met.
Right.
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 And that's what I would hope for the women that we serve. And if anybody's listening to this, really encouraging women to look internally, look at themselves first, right? Understand their family history, understand what you need to work on. And then before you get involved with somebody else, work on yourself. Yeah.
And that's a perfect segue. I do want to get into some of those kind of what to do next type things. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Cheryl here in a moment to discuss how to recover from situations like this. But first, a message from our sponsors, Mary and Martha House.
Mary and Martha House is a beacon of hope. For over 4 decades, it continues to shine brightly and illuminate the path towards a better future for countless women and families in need. Since our humble beginnings in 1982, we have dedicated ourselves wholeheartedly to the noble cause of helping those affected by domestic violence and homelessness. Did you know that every day in communities all around us, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 15 children face the terrifying reality of domestic violence. Compassion is the cornerstone of everything we do. We approach each person with a deep understanding of their unique struggles and needs. We foster an environment where respect and appreciation are not just words, but guiding principles that shape our interactions and relationships. Each member of our dedicated team is held to the highest standard, ensuring that compassion guides every aspect of our work. Mary and Martha House is a place where hope takes root, love blossoms, and lives are forever changed.
Please spread the word. Help raise awareness about Mary and Martha House by sharing their mission, success, stories, and upcoming events on social media. By amplifying their message, you can reach a wider audience and encourage others to get involved or make a donation. Please remember, even the smallest act of kindness can make a significant difference in the lives of those in need.
Welcome back to Break That Cycle, here with Cheryl Hickman. We just got done learning about her narcissistic upbringing, and we want to talk about some ways to combat that, because as we said, we know that there's other people out there that are going through this right now. Some that may have been able to identify, some who may not have, and hopefully listening or watching this episode will give them some tools and some knowledge on their situation that they may be able to apply. Mm-hmm. And we last talked about the situation with your first husband, with the violence, the physical violence, putting his hand through your car window. And obviously that's a huge red flag. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of, I guess, the cherry on top of the crap sundae that you were living with for quite some time. But we did talk about your relationship with your mom. Mm-hmm. How difficult, well, let me start. When did you decide that your relationship with your mother was not healthy for you?
I think I continued to try to make it work. I was deeply hurt, as I mentioned, after my dad died. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to care for my mom and honor my dad. Mm-hmm. I think I was deeply hurt when I was trying to do the right thing, and she cut me out of her life and decided that she wasn't going to speak to me anymore. Mm. So I was deeply hurt then, and I wanted to keep trying to be in her life. And so I didn't know it yet. I didn't understand at that point the manipulation, the level of the manipulation. But I was in my healing process. I was in counseling. I was working on myself. I was trying to understand, why I did the things I do, right?
Sure.
And so we went through this multiple times. She would come back. We would have this great relationship type of thing again. I would be the favorite child, right? Mm-hmm.
Kind of the love bombing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then I would apply those boundaries again, and then I would be
black sheep.
Yep, black sheep. Cut out of the will. You don't exist, right?
Keep your will.
Right. We talked about that. The will is funny.
Everyone out there, tell your parents, keep the will.
It's not
worth it.
It's not.
Not worth it.
And so probably about the third time around in that, mm-hmm. She had gotten sick. I went up to see her. She lives in a different city. She lived in a different city, and took her to the doctors, took care of all that. Even brought her back here so she could stay with us before the next doctor's appointment was. Sure. Drove back to the place she lived. Went through all that, and when I came back, she got her diagnosis. She called me back, and she blamed me for how expensive all the doctor's bills were, and that I made her go to the doctor, and it's my fault that she's in financial ruin because of that.
Wow.
And for me, that was my turning point.
Wow. Yeah.
I had moved far enough in my own healing and understanding of my sense of self and who I was to say, hey, this isn't right. That's crazy. Yeah. I'm not the one that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was only trying to do what was right for her, to care for her, which I had done my whole life, right?
Yeah.
And
starting at 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And to have her come back at that point, I let my brother and my sister know I was done.
Wow.
I can't play this role anymore.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy for me.
Yeah.
And I'm done. And at that point, I was done even trying. Didn't participate in Thanksgivings anymore, Christmases, anything like that. I just chose to be done.
How much did that hurt you at that time?
I think it hurt worse the times before when I was trying.
Okay.
And I kept getting harmed back.
Okay.
I think this time I had an understanding and a sense of I did the right thing for myself.
Okay.
And confidence I did the right thing.
Yep.
And whatever happens on that side, whether she live or die, it's on her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not the rescuer anymore.
Yeah.
Which is very freeing, knowing that I played that role since the earliest I could remember, like 5.
Yeah.
Right? Playing that role, and to be much, much later in my life to finally be free of that.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
So and we talk about guilt and shame being 2 huge issues that a victim will deal with when trying to get out of their abusive situation.
Right.
Along with a multitude of other feelings.
Right.
Scared, one of them. But up until that point where your mom blamed you for her financial ruin, how much guilt and shame kept bringing you back?
I think that was the motivating factor, because I felt like I was still trying to win her love and affection, right? And if I didn't do the right thing, I would be rejected again, knowing that she's already gone through a couple patterns, couple cycles of rejecting me, bringing me back in, rejecting me, bringing me back in, right? And so I felt at that point, I think I'm free from the guilt and shame because I had a sense of peace, right? But the guilt and the shame, they're tied to, you don't exist unless you're with me.
Yeah, yes.
You don't matter.
Yeah.
You matter only because of me.
Yeah.
Right?
You're a yo-yo.
Yeah.
You only operate because I operate you.
Absolutely.
And pull you up and down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's the manipulation where a narcissist will use withholding affection, rejection, telling you don't matter, right? That you're not worth being loved,
the
right?
things you and I try to break every single day.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the value of kind of the podcast. What you're doing is helping women. If you're hearing these messages, they're lies.
Yeah.
They're literally lies from Satan. And those are the things that you have to tell yourself the truth, that you are worthy, that you're worthy of love, that you matter, that you have a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, that you're significant. You have an opportunity to have things you like and you enjoy. You get your own opinion. These are the things that are the truth.
Yes.
And that hopefully folks that are listening will understand that those are the directions we need to go towards.
Yeah.
And believing that to be the truth, and the other stuff are the lies.
Yeah.
They're not true about our worth and our value.
Oh,
They're
God,
just
no.
not.
Absolutely. And honestly, it if you think about the basis of somebody telling you your worth, how is that even possible?
Right.
How can somebody tell you what you're supposed to think or feel about yourself?
Or matter, right?
Or matter.
Right.
That's it, just at the very basis of words coming out of mouths. It doesn't really track.
Nope.
But we allow it when we're in those types of situations.
Right.
So after you had that episode with your mother, with the medical treatment, and you said, I'm done. I'm out. Call your brother and sister. Your turn. I'm done. Did you still carry any shame or guilt beyond that?
No.
How did you let that go?
I think that was the separation. I needed to be separated from that situation to see it very clearly.
Okay.
And that's what helped me.
Okay.
Is I think once you get out of the fight or flight kind of reacting to what's going on, and you kind of get really grounded. For me, it's my faith.
Okay.
Being grounded in my faith,
Sure.
and understanding who I am according to the Lord. Then when this happened, I could see the crazy in it and know it wasn't about me anymore.
Yeah.
And So that's it. It actually worked.
Did you feel any resentment at all about your decision?
No, it's freeing.
Okay.
Very freeing.
Yeah.
Absolutely freeing.
And so the reason why I keep hounding on those types of questions and this specifically, because this was a turning point for you.
Yep.
And there are people out there that are listening or watching that are maybe waiting for that turning point to come to them.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen. You're going to have to turn the corner.
Right.
You have to put your foot down for yourself, believe in yourself, know your own self-worth to be able to make those decisions to cut yourself off from those situations.
Yes.
Because again, the idea of this is your family. You're supposed to love them. You what is it? You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family, but you're supposed to love. I don't know. Like
Something
I said,
like that.
I don't really believe in it.
Yeah.
So, but that's a hard decision. Was there any hesitation?
No, it was a conviction. It was a strong conviction that
Okay.
this was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think today there are so many amazing resources. Just do a Google search, about narcissistic parents, right?
Cheryl, we use ChatGPT now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
AI.
chat. AI might be a narcissist. I don't know. They could be. So
I'll ask it later and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thanks. There probably is. I think the other thing is many of our girls have used Facebook groups too.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they need a sense of community.
Yeah.
And other people to tell them the truth, because
Yes.
they've had people telling them lies about who they were and their value, but getting in communities of other women that talk about their experiences, man, that's powerful.
Oh, man.
It is very powerful to help you change behaviors and believe in yourself again. At Hope For, we talk about being seen, being heard, and matter. And those are critical to move forward.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're not being seen, you're not being heard, and you don't matter,
Yeah.
then there needs to be some serious reflection about who's in your life and what's going on with that.
Yeah.
And you may be talk to somebody else about moving away from that toxic situation.
It's not said enough how powerful faith is.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be a faith in a higher power, but in yourself and having some conviction for yourself and just believing in yourself.
Right.
And and I know you see it every day. A lot of the ladies that we see that come in, they have no belief in themselves because it has been torn down time and time again.
Yep.
But like you said, as soon as they turn that corner,
Yes.
look out,
Right.
because they are on a tear and they are about to really start living. And it's a beautiful thing to watch.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's like the weight's lifted off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's light and there's hope, and they're like, wow, I can actually have a life.
Yeah.
A life of abundance and a life of flourishing and do the things that I really want to do and I'm passionate about. Yeah, you really can. It makes all the difference in the world.
I love it.
It's miraculous, truly
Yeah.
miraculous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there's always the fear. There's always that fear of self-doubt.
Yep.
Maybe I'm not strong enough to do this. And this could be in a parental abuse situation or a spousal abuse situation. Again, you're nothing without me. And so they think very low of themselves. There is somebody out there listening to you right now, tell your story. And I know you as a very strong and powerful woman. I've told you many times, when I grow up, I want to be like you.
I appreciate that.
And you make it, obviously you've had a lot of time to heal through your journey.
Right.
And you're able to talk about it now. And sometimes you make it seem so effortless, how you were able to overcome that because you've had time to process and time to heal from that. But there are people out there right now that are in that beginning stage. They don't know for sure if they're crazy or if their abuser's crazy. They're still trying to navigate that.
Right.
We've talked about some of the signs as far as, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not pretty enough, no one will ever love you more than me, things that your mom said to you, you only matter because of me. If they're hearing those types of things and it's like perking up the hairs on the back of their ears a little bit, what would you say to somebody listening right now who's scared to take that leap who's scared to remove themselves from that toxic situation and better themselves. It's scary. It doesn't come naturally to people, especially when you've been beaten down over and over and over again. What would you say to that person right now to try and give them just a sliver of confidence that they could run with?
I believe strongly in community. So I think reaching out to talk to somebody who's a trusted friend, anybody. There are probably people in our lives that are going to tell us the truth and may have been trying to tell us the truth, but we weren't ready to hear it yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And those are the folks you need to get honest with and say, hey, I just think this isn't right.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Right? And see if you can have some honest conversation with people around you that know you well.
Yeah.
Right? That may have been saying, hey, red flag, and you weren't ready to hear it.
And probably push them out of your life in the process.
And if you don't have somebody that you could feel is a safe person in your life, again, fabulous safe groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
Good research on Google or chat or whatever. There are some really amazing research groups that are out there right now.
Yes.
That could give you confidence about even things like there's signs and symptoms, right?
Right.
And just go down that checklist. And maybe by the time you publish this, I'll send you some research back.
Absolutely.
And then that you can attach to it.
Yes.
Because it's so very simple. If you go down here's your top 10 signs and symptoms.
Yeah.
If you've got a couple of those, that's the flag for you to self-evaluate.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
I'm not safe, right? Yeah. And then get some help.
Yeah.
I know we're very blessed in our community to have, like the crisis center and things like that too.
Absolutely.
And resources available for women to reach out.
And I mean, just our organizations.
Yeah.
As well.
Mary Martha.
I mean, a huge, I kind of feel like we're battling it together on different sides of the county or, different ends of the county. And obviously we've worked together a bunch of times and we'll continue until the end of time.
We retire.
Ooh, don't say that word. You'll get me excited. I'll want to start booking vacations. But it's something we work well together. We see, in fact, we've worked with some of the same clients at the same time together.
Yes, we have.
And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help that population. And this is just an extension of that. So I love the advice. It's always hard to get someone to make that jump. It's very tricky. I mean, it took you many, many years and it took a huge blow up from your mom later in her life for you to finally take that plunge, so to speak. But the benefits, sense of calm, like you said.
Freedom. Right? A sense of self.
Getting yourself back.
Yeah, I feel like it's about getting myself back and understanding who I really am. And again, not looking back on the past as with regret, but understanding I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't go through what I did.
Yeah.
And again, I believe strongly God uses all things, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm able to be in a position in ministry because when I sit down with someone and we start talking about some of these things, I get it. I understand because I was there.
Yeah.
And I see how it plays out, not just from my biological family, but then into my marriage, right? Where it took time for that, get out of that cycle and really start working on my own healing.
Yeah.
So I could move forward. And so it's understanding, I think, glancing back at the past, right? Not focusing on it. And then seeing how it can move you forward into really a great purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In our lives.
No, and so we've discussed the issue. We've discussed how you felt getting away from that issue.
Right.
But let's look at the meat and potatoes of this. What do you physically do? What would someone have to physically do in order to break free from those chains and to get out from underneath that control?
I think you have to make a decision.
Okay.
For me, I call it conviction.
Okay.
Like literally a conviction in my heart that this isn't right.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to make a decision about valuing yourself over having that relationship, I could be speaking to you about this, right?
Yeah.
Is you have to make a decision, and know that the other person is responsible for their words and actions. You are no longer responsible for that.
Yeah.
And if you need to cut them loose, you need to cut them loose.
Yeah.
And
I just had a conversation with somebody today about this who is having some issues with that whole parent-child dynamic. And my advice was, you got to cut them loose. And, they always go back to, and I did it for many, many years. There was always a reason why I would not separate from the family. Mm-hmm. And it was always, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt. And, okay, well, they acted this way, but they only did that because this happened to them at one time, and was always making excuses for them, never really putting blame where blame was need to be put. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I stopped doing that and said, yeah, you know what? That was really shitty for you, and I'm sorry, but that does not give you the right to do this to me. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where that journey started healing for me. Mm-hmm. When I was finally able to say that. That's hard. That's tough to say.
It is hard.
And I love the idea about the community groups, because everything's a community. As when you raise a child, they say it takes a village. Mm-hmm. When you're helping somebody out who's not in a good situation, it takes a community to do these types of things. So take advantage of that, and use that soundboard for yourself to kind of give yourself a little bit of confidence, and maybe give yourself some ideas on how to overcome those barriers. Yeah.
The other thing is, like my parents' generation, I think my parents are probably a little bit older than your parents, but counseling, mental health issues, they weren't discussed.
No, God, no.
And so I think that there's probably a lot of mental health issues that were running around, and we as children got exposed to that. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to us, right?
Yeah.
And now as adults, we're talking about it.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Right? And
finally.
We can talk about it,
absolutely.
and we can get help, and we can get counseling. And again, I was criticized because I went into counseling after, my life hit rock bottom and everything happened. Mm-hmm. I was absolutely in counseling, and my sons were in counseling, and we were talking about this kind of stuff, and we were learning about internal family systems, and we were learning about what dysfunction is and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't talk about something and you keep it in the dark, then that's when it has that power over you.
Yes.
And I think now there's so many more options for people. And then the next generation, because of communication, because of being in community, because it doesn't matter where you are in the world, that you can reach out to somebody online and make a connection with another person and know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
I would love to see the statistics on how many women struggle with this issue right now. One of the things when I was doing some research on this, two of the professions that are drawn, that most narcissists are drawn into, are acting and ministry.
Wow.
Interesting, right?
Very.
Yeah. And so it makes you wonder why that would be, but I'll send you some articles on it. It's very interesting.
I will definitely post them in the comments. That's to be honest, I could see Pastor
all day long.
I could see that,
right? Because you're up above everybody else.
Yes.
And everybody is focusing on you. Where truthfully, those in ministry need to be directing everybody towards God, right?
Yeah,
and not
just
themselves,
a speaker.
right?
You're just a speaker.
You're just a vessel, right?
I could see where a lot of people take that on, but the acting, interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? Also interesting, the modern usage of the term gaslighting. Do you know where it comes from?
No.
A 1939 play, black and white.
Okay.
Titled "Gaslighting."
All right.
And it was about a man and a wife. The man was involved in very unscrupulous activities.
Okay.
And not a nice person. I mean, anything bad that you can think of in the 1930s,
Right.
this guy was in it.
Right.
One of the connected guys. And his wife kept trying to call him out, like, who was that woman you were with? And he's like, what are you talking about? As he's getting dressed, what are you talking about? There was no woman here. She's leaving the room. She goes, that woman right there. And he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no woman there. You must be losing it. You must be going crazy. And so as we use the term gaslight today, that's what that means. It's creating a false world that abuser wants you to live in so that you will remain subservient to that person.
Right.
So, but yeah.
We're the crazy ones.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're all crazy a little bit.
A little bit,
you know?
a little bit, yeah. I understand that.
I want to get to Hope for Her. We're going to take one more quick break. And when we get back, Cheryl is going to talk about the lovely organization Hope for Her. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Break That Cycle, here with Cheryl Hickman. And Cheryl, we want to learn everything there is to know about Hope for Her, which is a wonderful organization. As we've said, we work together quite often in the domestic abuse and domestic violence realm. But when was Hope for Her an idea for you?
So Hope for Her came out of the concept of my own experience of my own life hitting rock bottom. I was married to my second husband. And went through a divorce with my second husband, lost my job. I had struggled with addiction for about 25 years with alcoholism. Again, like we talked about with the family dynamics and growing up in an alcoholic family, having to address that in my own life.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a place that you can no longer blame your parents for your actions. And you have to start owning them.
Absolutely.
And so for me, it was the bondage of being an alcoholic. And I started drinking when I was 13. And so it had really had control over my life for a long time. I think it was a coping mechanism when I was younger.
Absolutely.
To deal with the trauma and the stress. And then became a crutch, a tool to navigate life.
Yes.
And
that little ditty.
Finally, my life kind of imploded. And I literally found myself face down in my living room and kind of had made a mess of my life. And at that point, I surrendered my life to Christ and said, Lord, whatever you want me to do. My life is yours now. And I'm done trying to be the puppet master for my own life, right? Because we learn these tools and techniques. Growing up in a manipulative family, I was a manipulator too. I had my own bag of tricks. Which I used to navigate life. And so I literally surrendered my life to the Lord. I was working on my master's degree, and I changed my thesis for my master's degree to the concept of Hope for Her, to create an organization where women could come without judgment or condemnation. Where women would just work with other women, kind of in the mess, and that was okay. And so I got my master's degree in human services with a focus on organizational leadership. And so the thesis made sense to create an organization. So I got the structure and the understanding of a nonprofit from my education. So I graduated with my master's degree in 2003. The research team was 11 other ladies, all who had challenging life circumstances. And we just started working with women. We worked out of my house and a couple other locations. And the first year we worked with about 100 women. By September of that year, our model was working. Women were moving forward in their lives. Lives were changing,
What was do you remember the first time that you kind of had that, this is gonna work?
No, I didn't think it was going to work. I was
really?
shocked.
You were betting against Cheryl?
That's right. I was like absolutely shocked. I mean, it was a thesis, right?
Yeah.
How many times do people actually turn a thesis into an organization?
Right. Yeah.
Not often, right?
Yeah.
It was a concept, just an idea, right? I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
No idea. I still don't really know what I'm doing.
Stop.
For the most part. Kind of wing it on a daily
basis. Don't tell me that. I told you you're my idol.
I wing it a lot. And so by September of that year, the volunteer team, we applied for our 501c3. We created the organization.
Yeah.
And back then, because this was 2003, the IRS wrote letters to you.
Yeah.
And so you wrote a letter to them and they wrote one back, and then you wrote one back again.
You
and
were
they wrote
pen
you back.
pals for a little bit? Yeah.
We were. And I had a great lady at the IRS who really walked me through the 501c3 process.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
And wow, all of a sudden we were a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And we kept working with women. It kept working. In 2005, Bay Life Church approached us and said, hey, we love what you're doing.
Yeah.
We've got some empty space. You can come work out of our property.
Yeah.
And minister to the people at the church, and mutually beneficial.
How cool was that?
So we moved our home headquarters to Bay Life Church, and we've been on their property ever since.
Yeah.
They gave us space in one of their portables until 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2020, we moved into our new building.
Yeah.
And so.
Oh, that's awesome. How was it getting that building? Because working out of your house, it can make it seem like it's still small time, right? You're still trying to figure it out as you go in some respects. But when you actually get, it doesn't have to be just nonprofit, but like storefront, or you get a location.
Exciting. Yeah.
Did you like puff your chest out a little bit? We are on the way.
We thought that 1,500 square feet was huge, and we would never use all that space. Never, ever, ever.
Of course not. Yeah.
And within no time, we used every inch, and we're able to continue to minister to people, and it just worked well.
Yeah.
What we were doing worked well, but we were very limited, being in such small space. Is in how many people we could actually minister to.
Yep.
And so when we moved to the new space, our goal has always been to be able to work with 400 families a month. Mm-hmm. And we're still working towards that now. But the idea is to create a safe space for women.
Yeah.
Critical, right? Without judgment or condemnation.
Yep.
And our model is long-term relational care, which means that we're with women for a lifetime.
Yeah.
We are going to step into that gap and play that surrogate role of family as long as women need us.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how long it is.
Giving them the right information, not
truth.
telling them lies.
Nope. We're going to speak the truth.
Exactly.
Speak the truth in love.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
Did you ever have moments where your confidence was a little shaky getting this started, coming from just a piece of paper, and now you're building something?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
How scary?
Oh, yeah. I was actually telling one of the ladies we're working with today, she's actually starting her own business, and she was talking about it being scary. And I'm like, girl, let me tell you, scary. Look at this place, right? And I could tell her very specific circumstances where I'm like, wow, am I supposed to be doing this, right? But my faith again, I truly felt the Lord has continued to lead me, and His hand has been on the organization, and I believe strongly in the work of the Holy Spirit, and that we're ambassadors, and we get to show up, and He uses our gifts and talents to truly change lives on a daily basis. I mean,
did you ever have a moment where you thought it wasn't going to work out?
A lot of moments.
Yeah.
Lots of moments over the years. Yeah.
Just leaning on your faith, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. We've had big challenges over the years, and it has really been. My faith has really grown, less of me and more of God as we go through this process.
Yeah.
Probably more so now than any other time in the past, that knowing that God's in this and it's His will and He's doing great things. And I'm here for a season, right? We're all here for a season. And we get to be in awe and a witness to life change.
Yeah.
And restoration, reconciliation.
Yeah.
Women really getting free of bondage.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Tell us some of the community impacts that Hope for Her has had, because your facility, definitely more than 1,500 square feet now. You guys have a beautiful facility, and you're doing so much there. What types of impact are you making on the community as far as like what services you're offering today?
So our model is a holistic, a whole person model, right? And so when someone comes in, like we talked about earlier, it's what do you want, right?
Yeah.
What do you want to do today? What do you need today? What do you see yourself doing long term, right? Goals, right? I have goals. You have goals. A lot of folks who have been in tough circumstances, they can't even think about goals. Yeah. They need to
it's just
figure
surviving
out,
the day.
Can I get something to eat? I need a shower. Where am I going to sleep tonight? Right? So we do all that. We're about addressing emergency needs, and then what's next? Yeah. Let's take care of what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. But then let's talk about where do we go from here, right? So it's a whole person model. So when someone comes in, we look at, your spiritual health, right? Your physical, nutritional health, financial health, environmental health. Where do you live? Who do you live with, right? And your emotional, mental health. We all have these 5 domains in our life. They're all very important. If one of them goes sideways, we need some help. A lot of the folks we work with, something has gone sideways in their life, 1 or 2 or more of the domains, and they don't know where to turn. And so that's where we step into that gap. And then through that, we help them build it out, figure out what they're going to do. And that's why we need partners like Mary Martha, right? I think, I actually sent one of my girls here today.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did.
All right.
Because I got an email from Stacy.
Oh, good.
And so anyway, so not only do we look at the whole person model, but it's not about us. And that has always been our philosophy from the very, very beginning, that it takes our entire community. And so the partnerships have always been very, very important. We partner with over 250 different nonprofits in the community. And so it's creating a plan that makes sense for that particular woman.
Sure.
Every single person is unique and different. And every plan is unique and different according to that person, right?
Absolutely.
And what she wants in her life, right? And I had an opportunity last Friday to speak at the Entrepreneur Collaborative Center.
Oh, cool.
And we were talking about small businesses and people creating small businesses. Well, this morning I got to meet with a lovely lady who is a teacher professionally, but her desire is to do a catering organization with chocolates and food and everything.
Okay.
Well, I don't believe in coincidences. And so because I was there last week, I had all these resources to help women start their own businesses.
Nice.
So it's all tied together. And so here you go. Do A, do B, do C, and off you go.
Meant to be,
right? I call them divine appointments. I was in the right place at the right time to minister to her today and give her the tools she needs to be successful.
That's awesome.
But that happens every day at the center. And so that's really the core function or service. Very hard to define because it's really about doing life with people. And so that's our main program model is called a family support model. But within that, we also have, emergency food, emergency clothes, we have furniture, but the core function is the relationship. And that's the most important thing we do.
Our previous executive director, Lori Herring, used to always say we're not cookie cutter because everyone has their own journey. And you can't, if you weren't trying to help out in the holistic approach, then you're putting that person in the box just like their abuser was.
Right.
So you have to know all facets of that individual, that person, and help them out. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you guys offer quite a few services, counseling, legal, goods. What types of things do you guys, if someone were to walk in to Hope for Her, what would they expect to be able to get help with?
The list is kind of endless in the sense that we are co-located with the Bay Life Counseling Center. So we have that resource literally right there on the property, which is fantastic. We have legal partners. We don't do the legal ourselves, but we have legal partners that do that. We partner with the childcare resources locally, the shelter resources, the housing resources, transportation resources. really mental health, physical, nutritional health. I mean, that's such a big question.
My
A
apologies.
lot. Can't nail that one down.
A lot
I
is
can't.
a good answer.
A lot.
It's better than not enough.
That's right. We do a lot.
Yeah. No. So with that approach, you've obviously seen some success stories.
Sure.
Do you have any that come to mind that you really enjoy talking about and telling?
So I'll just talk about today.
Okay.
Today was a lot of fun. So the young girl that we referred over to y'all later this afternoon, when she came in this morning, she was just distraught. She had no hope. She was crying. She's a single parent mom, living in her car, just in a really tough spot. Has a full-time job, just trying to make ends meet between paying daycare, staying in the car.
Daycare is ridiculous.
Juggling the kids.
Yeah.
And then keeping a good job, right?
Yeah.
And so when we sat down and we talked about it, she didn't realize her assets, how much was going right in her life.
Yeah.
She was only focusing on the one thing that was going wrong.
Yeah.
And so as we talked through it, she was able to really recognize that, hey, I've done a lot. I've got a good plan. I'm moving in the right direction.
She is doing a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were able to connect her with some apartments that are available and put a really good plan in there. And she needs some counseling. She was discouraged, which is normal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But honestly, when you can sit down and talk with somebody and they're going to tell you the truth, right? Without judgment or condemnation, it can change your perspective on how you see your life.
Yeah.
When you start seeing the good things that are happening in your life, it's not all bad, right? And then isolating what those things are, those barriers are that need to be addressed, so we can pull them out and go, okay, let's work on this. How can we fix this? Right? And not dwell on that.
That boost of self-confidence is a beast. And as soon as you get a whiff of it, it's almost like it really does empower you. It's a game changer.
It really is.
So just having a simple conversation sometimes with somebody, getting them to understand that they're not the broken loser that so-and-so keeps telling them they are. Look at what you're accomplishing. Look at how strong you are living out of your car with 2 kids and still holding down a job.
Right.
I know people out there that couldn't even fathom that idea. Right. But yeah, there are people out there that can get that done. And all it took was somebody to say, hey, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
You know, and it just and it turns the mentality around.
Absolutely.
And really gets them headed in the right direction. That's
and
beautiful.
in circumstances like that, it's very easy to isolate what that thing is and then provide a solution.
Yeah.
Because I'm not emotionally in it right now.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the outside person speaking into your life. You're allowing me to speak into your life.
Yep.
Right? And so I'm going to offer you some options, some ideas that might help you remove that barrier. So we offered her some really good options. And then we have follow-up. About 60% of the families we see every single month are people we're already in relationship with.
Okay.
And so the follow-up is critically important.
Yeah.
We see people over and over and over again because we're in it with you working through the plan, right? And so she has some homework. She's going to look at 3 apartments. We'll have a decision by Tuesday.
Yeah.
Hopefully by Tuesday, we can go ahead and say, okay, this one works, this one doesn't, and let's get you in. Goal being you're going to be housed by July 1st.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if we can use Mary Martha in the side, in
us.
the middle, right?
Yeah,
until the
absolutely.
first of the month, great.
Absolutely.
Then that just gets her and the kids out of the car for a couple weeks, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what partnerships are. I mean, that's how we all work together.
Like you said, community.
Right? It is. I cannot stress the community part enough because I think isolation's an issue with so many of the ladies we work with right now.
Yeah.
Loneliness, feeling like you're the only one that's out there that's experiencing this.
That's a big one.
Not having hope.
And it's crazy with all of the information that is out online, internet is, I mean, of course you can't believe everything you see on the internet.
You can't believe Chad either, so you need to talk to Chad about the narcissism.
We are best friends, okay? But all of this information that supposedly is at people's fingertips and that you should be able to pull up constantly and immediately. Sometimes it's the most important information that doesn't get to the people that need it the most. And knowing, just something as simple as knowing you're not the only person going through this, or you're not the only person that has been through this, there's a lot of power behind that.
Yep.
And sometimes that's all it takes, is to know
Yep.
there is somebody out there who's experienced this or is experiencing this.
Right.
Why not work with them?
Right.
Why not talk to them? Why not be open with them and see if we can't conquer this together?
Right.
So
It goes right back to being seen,
yes,
being heard,
yes,
and knowing that you matter.
yeah,
It's life-changing.
yeah. So looking forward, hope for her.
Yeah.
Do you have anything? Do you have a dream board, a whiteboard, as some people say? You got any hopes and dreams for hope for her moving forward?
I do. One of my passions is really to continue to deepen the services we offer.
Sure.
I don't believe anybody's outside the grace of God. I believe everybody can be healed and restored. We're seeing so many women come in with PTSD and trauma issues, childhood trauma issues, that are really keeping them in bondage right now.
Yeah.
That I would like to expand our services and continue to partner with other organizations to connect women to non-invasive ways of healing trauma and therapy options, things like that. I want to continue to grow our connections with people, with organizations, because the more we do that, the more resources we can make available to the families we see.
Yep.
But really, my biggest passion before I retire is really deepening our model.
Yeah.
And I would like us to have a model that can be duplicated for other people.
Yeah.
And I think we have a long enough track record of success now with women.
Yeah.
That other people can kind of pick up on that.
And I love that you have that mentality, because when of course it's typically in the for-profit world, but also in the nonprofit sector here and there, when someone really has a good model and they want to try and hold on to it and they don't want to give that information to anyone else because it's theirs. They started it, they got it, and they have the rights to it. And I can understand that. But on the other side, if you can give that model to a region of this country or this state or this county or whatever that does not know how to do this, can you imagine how many people you're going to be helping? We're here to help each other.
Right.
You know, there should be no holding on to anything. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And you, at one point you will do that, because that information, if it's working, other people need to know about that, because there's other people that are suffering and need that help, which is fantastic.
And I do think what we do can be duplicated anywhere.
Sure.
It really is. It's about people caring about other people.
It's about caring.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And taking time to sit down and hear people and know that they exist and really be in that relationship, true relationship with other folks.
Yeah.
And that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
And again, I believe that it's God's mission. I mean, he's the one that has created the organization, right? And I don't think it's something for us to hold on to. I think the more people we can help, the better. Our actually vision statement is that if every woman was living her purpose for her life, then we could close our doors, because we would have achieved our mission at that point, right?
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have to do what we do, because there'd be a lot of flourishing going on in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, let's just keep spreading knowledge.
Right.
And that's one step towards that goal. For anyone listening who wants to support Hope for Her and your wonderful services, how can people help?
So online, we're hopeforherfl.org. And we have a number of cool events that people can connect to and donate on. We've got our back to school Backpack Hero coming up, which is a pretty large event.
Yeah.
We hope to serve 3,000 to 5,000 children through our collaboration amongst all the nonprofits.
Yeah.
We have a clay shoot coming up. We've got golf tournament, or you can just donate.
Donations as far as for your resource center. Do you guys accept donations?
Yep. In-kind donations, financial donations at the center. We're open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4. We also have a pretty good Facebook presence at Hope for Her Florida. That's really our avenue for getting out what's going on with the center.
If you want to get involved with Hope for Her, be sure to check out their online presence or look them up. You guys are right down the street from us.
Right.
And we really, truly value not only you, but your organization. And thank you for being such a voice for those who don't have one and helping people.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for asking me to come do this. I think it's an important topic.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I mean, it's tied to so much in the work we do. And I think if women are willing to step into this kind of topic and talk about it, folks can really seek some freedom.
That's all we need to do. Just start talking.
Yep.
So thank you again for coming out
Bill.
and talking
Appreciate
about
it.
As we wrap up this show, we want to thank Cheryl Hickman and Hope for Her for all the services that they provide our community. As we close this episode out, remember, keep learning, keep growing, and keep breaking that cycle. We'll see you next time.